This is our last webinar, and we're going to have Aaron to go ahead and hit the start recording button so that we can get this webinar recorded for you. This is our last Q&A webinar until June. Aaron and I will be on the road starting next week. Want to make sure that you know that you can register up to 2 schools from your LEA in a build and load class, and up to 2 schools in just a load-only class from your LEA. We do want to tell you that some of the LEAs, some of the classes have very low registration, so we may be moving some people around because we can't afford to go all the way out to the mountains for one person in a class. So just be aware of that, and if you haven't got your people registered, please go ahead and do so that we can make sure when we start to close things that we have everybody registered who's going to. We're going to try to look at possibly closing all registration down on April the 6th so that we can go ahead and make those calls and get everybody moved to where they need to be if we're closing classes. So just be aware to get your people registered before April the 6th. All right. Anything else, Aaron? Okay. Questions, it's open to you. We've been running these about an hour, so that's about what we're going to plan for today.
Dawn is asking, and she's phrased it as a known issue, that if a feeder school is entering requests, so if the middle school is using mass add requests, that those requests get the wrong school ID associated.
You need to have, are you using Power Scheduler at all? If you're using Power Scheduler, the middle school needs to have a simple scenario set up. If you're not using Power Scheduler, the middle school cannot enter requests for the high school. That is correct. Someone at the high school needs to do it, or you need to give those counselors access to that high school so that they can log in and do it from there.
Yeah, I'd echo that. The best practice is to have, if you're doing it, really doesn't matter how you're doing it, I guess, to have the receiving school manipulate their own requests. So for the middle school kids, your best practice is to have the high school to enter those requests so that they're coded right. That's really what the system wants, is the school that's doing the scheduling to control that whole system. The other part of your question, can that be fixed through DDA? Yes, that's a relatively simple fix. So if you submit a help desk ticket for that, they can take those and move them to the right place. That's not hard.
And that's kind of why, Donna, when you withdraw a student from your school after you've entered a request and you don't delete those requests, the previous school can, or the next school can see the request. They're just attached to the wrong school ID because they were put in at the previous school. So it's kind of like the middle school. The requests were put in at the middle school, so they're connected to that school's ID.
Hannah's saying we only have one error, so hooray for that.
Yay!
But it occurs 192 times.
So it's probably something that's going to be fixed when you fix it one time.
I followed the instructions on filling in the target number of sections to offer, and it is still there. Do you have other suggestions on how to clear the error? It is error, invalid number of sections, and then it gives the course and the name. The section count is 0.
Okay, probably because you have no assignments set up for that section or that course, and you have requests in for it. So that's the first place you want to check, is to make sure that there are assignments for that course. If you copied from last year, make sure there are sections created for that course.
And she's also saying that they have a warning for a student found without any request, and that they have a student that is severely under-requested and the error is happening multiple times.
What happens with that is you need to check those students Under requested may be okay because it may be a senior who only has 4 courses for the year instead of 8, and you said that they have to have 8. That's okay. You just need to check those warnings. Students without requests, also check those. Make sure it's not a student that's leaving and you just aren't going to put any requests in for them. Those all need to be checked.
And for students who you think, she's indicating in her question that it's saying, like, for a student that should be fully requested, request filled 0 out of 8 time slots.
Make sure it's connected to the right school ID.
Make sure your requests are generated the right school ID and were generated the correct year ID.
Yeah.
As well. And if you export the table scheduling requests, you can look at the school ID and the term ID to make sure that those match.
Also, one thing I want to warn you about is that will do that. It'll come up with 25 kids, and you'll get a message that says, this error has appeared 25 times, will not show again. You clear up those 25, and you'll get another 25. So it doesn't produce all of those at one time. The main thing, Pam, I would look at is the year ID that those requests are connected to. If you've got them, the year and the school ID are going to be 2 major things.
How do classes follow each other in sequence if they take both level 1 and level 2?
Yeah, you can do what's called a course relationship. And let me log into Power School here, Power Scheduler. And I'm going to go to Courses. And let's see if I can find one that follows in sequence here. American History 1. I'm going to look at relationships, okay? And I'm going to say a new relationship, okay? What course am I going to associate with American History 1? I am going to associate American History 2. Now the question is that in this database? American History 1, American History 2, okay? What I have to say to myself is, what does American History 1 do to American History 2? Must be loaded the term before. So American History 1 must be loaded the term before American History 2. I submit that. American History 1 must be loaded the term before American History 2. It kind of reads backwards, but you have to kind of think about it in your mind. What does the course you have up here do to the course you associate it with? And that will follow your courses in sequence.
And Pam, don't worry, I'm going a little out of order on your questions as I type, think, and do. I'm not the most linear person, so don't worry, I am.
No, he's not. So.
And just as a follow-up, I'm going to skip to your 5th one. You say, how do you link teachers for courses so kids follow them from one semester to another? That is also another type of course relationship.
And I don't have that book with me. What is it called? Aaron's looking for the book. We have to look at those relationships. I don't have them all memorized yet.
So I think it's called section link.
Yeah, but that's done over here in a constraint. So Power Scheduler.
Oh, maybe it's
No,
that's downstairs.
Constraints. You have a section link. So you say new. You say course number, whatever this course is, and a section, and course number and a section are linked together. So the students go from English 1 to English 2. with the same teacher. You must have a section, it says, so I didn't save it for me because I don't know what a section number was. But
and if you look on PowerSource for course relationships and course constraints, you could come across a lot of crosswalk documents that will detail. The name of that exact one is just evaded me right now. My apologies. She's also asked if we want to build the schedule around student requests, why do we have to enter semester and period to take off the error message? I'm assuming you're talking about a course without valid terms error. For all courses, you have to say what terms are valid. It's just the way it works. I agree with you. I would like it that if any term were valid, you could leave it blank. That's not the case. If semester 1 and semester 2 are both valid, you must enter them both. It's just information that the engine needs to make it go.
It's the way it was built. Unlike our previous system where you could leave it blank and it would automatically put it somewhere, this system will not. You have to tell it.
Exactly. Charlene is asking, when scheduling a homeroom, does it have to be in a separate period, or can it be scheduled as their first period class, similar to high school teacher teaching Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 at the same time? So that relationship only works one way. A teacher can teach 2 contents in the same period. If I'm your Spanish teacher, I can teach Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, have 2 concurrent sections. As a student, in a period, I can only take 1 course. Or think of it this way, be enrolled in 1 section. So if they're taking homeroom during a time, that has to be separate from a content area. I cannot be enrolled in 2 sections at the same time.
But you do not have to have a homeroom number. You can say that your first period class is your homeroom class for all your students. But every student must have a first period class and only 1 first period class. It's kind of like in the old system. I used to use period 2 as my homeroom. You do not have to use a homeroom number. If you're a daily attendance school, you just need to make sure that that period you're using as your daily attendance period is marked as your bridge period, and each student is registered in a first or a period class that is the bridge period, but only 1 class.
And Donna just asked a good question saying we recommend using the relationship load the term before rather than load prereq. Those have the same intent and they have the same effect if your smallest term division is semester. If it's not semester, they do slightly different things, in which case you'd want to do prereq and postreq.
Just makes more sense to me to say the term before, but that's just me.
And if you're doing semesters, there's absolutely no
Nothing
difference,
wrong with
so
that.
that's good. All right, lots of questions, so if I'm not getting to yours real quickly here, be patient. Regarding load priorities, we want the students' seated courses to load first. So should the CCP and NCVPS courses be a load priority of 63?
That's going to be a decision you're going to have to make. If you want them loaded last, then sure. It's not going to hurt to have them 63. You can always go in and mass update them and change them if you find that 63 is a problem. Just know 63 means they're going to load last.
Which is exactly right. If they can take that any term, any period, that is a low priority class. So I think your thinking is good there. April's asking, we no longer see a red exclamation mark next to the course catalog.
Yay!
Does that mean we are good to go on courses? I entered about 200 new courses to accommodate all those red exclamation points. I'm going to say yes, and the only consideration you have to make is if you copied a master schedule, making sure that those old course numbers, the one that had the red exclamation points, aren't used on a section.
Nothing's attached to them. If you've unchecked them, you're not going to be able to see that now. Of course, you could go to the unavailable, check it back. It's going to show up in red. Just go to that course, the sections, make sure there's nothing attached to it. That's the only concern. It's not going to copy over for sure if there's anything attached to it, but we just want to, we're not sure what's going to happen with those, you know, because this is new to us this year.
And Pam's asking a follow-up to those course requests. How do you check the year ID or school ID on a course request?
You can go to Power Scheduler, Functions, Update Selections, Schedule Requests is what you're going to look for. And just look at them. And let's see what we get here. Hello, open up. It's taking a while. You could modify. Whoops, sorry. Hello, come on. And what we're going to say is update selections. We're going to say where year ID is greater than or equal to 2,500. And in this school, I've got 15 courses that have a year ID that's greater than or equal to 2,500. Keep in mind this is a test school, so. And what was the other one she asked for, the request?
Looking at the school ID and year ID.
School ID is also right here under schedule request. So you can put in your school ID equal to, or if you want to make sure you have them all equal to your school, you could say not equal to and your school number. And that would give you any that are connected to a different school ID.
Yep. And you can also export this information from DDE if you like to look at it in spreadsheet format. You can control what you see a little better, but you're looking at the same thing. So April, who has just cleared all of her red exclamation points, is asking if there are going to be any more new courses.
That I cannot answer, April, and I am sorry to say that. I would hope not, but, you know, as soon as I say no, there's not, there'll be 50 more. So I don't know. I know there probably will be if people ask for courses that are not out there now, if people create new syllabuses and want to teach new courses. So I know. It's one of those things that we live with every day.
It is one of those things that we live with every day. Donna's asking, how do we tell it to schedule mid-year grad requests in semester one? So there are a couple of different ways to skin this one. I'll see what Sue-Ann tells you.
First thing you can do is in constraints, you have a load constraint called student free. You can actually go to student free. You can call up that student. I'm just going to pick here this first one. And I'm going to say semester 2, he is free all 4 periods. It will not schedule him anything second semester. He may be one of those students that shows up on the warning list they were just talking about that says severely under requested, but you would know that. So that's a simple way to keep them from scheduling anything second semester. Okay, Aaron, what do you have?
You could also, that's a really good way to do it. You could also, and depending on where you're at with generating student requests, you can create a placeholder course, just a non-reporting course, then tag it early graduation, only offer it semester 2, make it the entire length of your bell schedule, and give it a high load priority, drop those students in there. That'll eat up their whole second semester. The rest of the requests have to happen in first semester, and you simply delete the sections of that course later.
Just make sure that you do have sections of the courses you're offering for those kids first semester, though. If they have a request for it and you have not the system has not created a section first semester, you'll run into problems then. But that's something you should know.
Don is also asking, if we want our CCP and NCVPS courses to be in the computer lab, do we mark the room as always free to get possibly 29 different sections to build in there at the same time?
You could. You could also use a facility and say that this course is facility use only, this room is facility use only, and you could put them in there.
You can actually, I think, combine those ideas to say that the room is always free and use the facility, which will force those sections into that room, and that room will never have a capping restriction. So, yes, I think you're right on there.
That's something I will tell you to do once you've built and you start looking at that. Please check your rooms carefully, because they do sometimes, if you don't have departments set up or everything set up just right, you'll end up with a math teacher in an English room, which then is thrown an English teacher into a social studies room, which is then thrown a social studies teacher into a PE room. So that's one thing I want to warn you to check.
And Pam's asking a good follow-up, saying that she has multiple courses and sections that she needs to link from semester 1 to semester 2. So that is developing that correct constraint or relationship between those courses. If you want to email me, I can look up some of the specifics of that. I apologize for not having that on the top of my head, but that is one of the more granular things you're going to want to do. The short answer to your question is yes, there is a way to force the system to take groups of kids and put them in section 1 and section 2, and to ensure that the same teacher teaches both of those sections. I would just have to make sure I have all of the process in mind before I lead you down the wrong path. So please, by all means, send me an email, and we will track that down specifically.
I think it's going to be your section link, though.
Should have said email sooner.
Go ahead and email me. I'll give it to Aaron.
There you go. And I just put my email address in the reply to your question.
Been some good questions so far today. I can tell that you guys are getting further in the process, getting ready for these workshops. And the one question that you had about the error that you keep getting, if you can't get it cleared up with a couple things that I just gave you, go ahead and email Aaron again about that one, and we'll see what we can figure out.
Donna's saying, I've never seen Visual Scheduler being used. Can you demonstrate that?
Let's see if I can, because I don't know if there's anything in here. So Visual Scheduler, a couple things you can do. You did it yesterday? Okay. So let's see. Let me change. Let me go back to the start page here. He told me he set up something yesterday in a different school. So let me go there.
So before you can use Visual Scheduler, you have to have a scenario and a valid course catalog because you're going to be scheduling courses. So I think we have that set up in this school. It's hard to tell with a database that gets refreshed like ours. And before she starts, I'm just going to add my personal word of caution to Visual Scheduler. It's an okay utility. It's not my personal favorite thing, but lots of people use it to great success. Just make sure that if you use it and you're moving things about, that you verify in those sections that those changes happen, because there are known bugs with Visual Scheduler to say that if you move things from one period to another or one term to another, those changes don't always get reflected in the section, which can create a lot of confusion for you. So
no courses are showing up.
we have no courses showing up there. So
what happens is, over here where it says courses, so you see your courses here. You can filter by courses. You also have additional filters over here. What you do is you take your course, you drag it, and you drop it under the teacher and the period that you want. Okay? This is where Erin was saying, and once you do that, you need to open that course up and make sure that the semester, term, day, period, everything that you wanted is there. If you drag it from this teacher to this teacher, this period, again, open it up and make sure everything is there. Let me go here. I'm not sure why we're not having courses show up. Teachers are there.
Copy the master schedule.
Yeah.
Show that right.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. We're going to copy the master schedule here. Do we have a scenario? You set a scenario up? Okay. When you're copying your master schedule, and we've had a couple places do this, you must check this box that says clear existing scheduling term in the destination school year. If you do not do that, it will leave all your courses and all of your sections connected to the 14-15 school year, and you won't be able to schedule anything. So you need to be able to check. You need to make sure you check that. All right, let's see what we get now. Maybe we'll get something here. Ah, looky there. I copied my master schedule. This is actually what I see if I've copied my master schedule. This teacher has this non-reporting course number. You can open that course up. It shows you the section number, the max enrollment, the period, all the information that you need here, okay? You can, in Visual Scheduler, take this course and drag it and drop it. Maybe you can. Should be able to drag it and drop it. Here we go. Come on. I don't know why it's not allowing me to drag it and drop it. Keep in mind we're in this training database. You can also open it up, change the term. Oh, you know what it is? Do you see what it says here? Why do you think it says that? I haven't gone back and fixed all my information from copying my master schedule. So I need to go to my years and terms. Now let's see if it'll let us do it. Don't know that it will. Again, we're in this training database. Drag it and drop it. You should be able to drag it and drop it into another semester, another term. When you do that, again, you want to open it up because you want to make sure that the information is correct. A lot of times when you drag it and drop it, kind of like when you create a new section of a course, you end up without a scheduling information, so you want to make sure that that's all there and correct. You can filter it by teacher, department, term, period, by selected courses. Should have, right here is a little tiny X. Should be able to open that up, and what that will show you is that course and any other course that is in conflict with that course during that period, and how many students are enrolled in that course and every other course that's at that same period. Okay? There's this little arrow right here on the right-hand side that you can click on. What that does is that opens up another box that shows you have how many 9th graders you have, how many 10th graders, 11th graders, 12th graders. It will also show you how many seats are available during each one of those periods that you have scheduled for that grade level. Okay? So if I had semester 1 and semester 2 here, it would have S1, how many seats I had available during period 1 for grade 9, for grade 10, for grade 11, and for grade 12. So that's just a kind of a little tool that you can use if you need to. So basically, that's how Visual Scheduler works. If you just create your sections by hand, they should show up over here, and you can drag them and drop them wherever you need them to be. But for some odd reason, it's not allowing me to drag and drop today. Hope that helps, Donna. Okay? Any more questions? Too quiet. Guess that was just information overload with Visual Scheduler. When you're starting your validation, if you've got warnings that you can clear up, go ahead and clear those up, because that would end up saving you more trouble later on down the line.
Is the invalid request report run through the live side of PowerSchool?
Invalid request report? Good question. Are you looking for an invalid request report? I don't remember seeing an invalid request report. Can you send us the where you've seen that?
Kathy says it was referenced in the power source scheduling part 3, the distance learning module, I assume.
I don't know. I'll have to look and see, Kathy. See if I can find it. I can go through that part 3 distance learning.
I have no idea.
And they may be talking about an older report, because some of those distance learnings are based on older stuff. So it may be something like the non-scheduled student requests or non-scheduled student requests for scheduled courses or something like that, because that would be an invalid request for some reason if it didn't schedule. But I'll have to check and see. Just send me an email about it.
She says, last side, special functions, group functions, invalid request.
That has to do with course prerequisites. We don't use course prerequisites. It says list students' requests which are invalid due to course prereqs. So I don't think that report would probably work because it connects to prereqs, unless you've gone back for the last 4 years and put in all those prereqs. So what that would do is that would pop up an Algebra 2 request for a student if you said a prereq was Algebra 1 and they didn't have Algebra 1. What you're going to get with that. Remember, keep those questions coming. I'm glad to see that some people have already started the validation process. You're at a great place. Hopefully we can get that master schedule at least a great part of the way done if that's the school that's coming to the workshop. And keep in mind, these truly are workshops. There will be no training going on except the training that we sit down with you to work through situations. So it's for you to come and work and us to help you get that master schedule done, and then those people can go back and help the rest of your school. Keep in mind that you want to have that done in time to do a commit at least 2 to 3 weeks before the end of the year. Check the NCSIS website because they have actually created a webinar for end of year process starting, I think it's May the 19th is when the first one is. So check that website and get registered for that. Got a couple of our workshops that are full. Like I said, we still have a couple that have very low registration, like 1 or 2 people, and so we may have to move those. If you have a desperate situation that you need to get additional people in, send us an email and let us know. We'll see what we can work out, but right now it's 2 schools per LEA.
Kathy is asking that she's saying she didn't copy her master schedule like you just did. Is that something she must do?
Absolutely not. You do not have to copy your master schedule. You can let the system build your master schedule from scratch based on student requests, teacher assignments, and course information that you put in. Totally up to you and your school.
And Pam, I'm looking at your request right now. I'm just going to need some time to dig into these things a little bit.
We'll take a look at it some more, Pam, when we get a little bit of time off of here to sit down and really look at it. It may be tomorrow. I know Aaron will be out of the office tomorrow, but he'll give me the information and I can take a look at it too, and we can see what we can come up with.
You're welcome, Pam. We'll find something. We will.
We'll just make you start all over again, Pam. I'm sure it's probably something very simple. It happens a lot. All right, keep the questions coming. It's kind of boring in here just looking at Aaron across the table. This is the last one of these we will have until June, because Aaron and I will be out of the office. So if you've got questions, we'll be at the scheduling places. You'll need to email us. Email a ticket to the service desk, please, so that these things can be tracked. It's important that we do that. They're going to be your first line of contact while Aaron and I are out in the field. We do have those 2 weeks in June set up for help sessions. What we'd like to do is to finish these sessions and have everybody get back to the school. I know getting close to the end of May, you're going to want to register, but, you know, kind of play it by ear, and let's not fill up all of those slots to begin with. We may have some people who truly, truly need help during that time. And we'll still be available for calls and everything.
Pam's asking about another warning. It says the request file contains an invalid course. The course number is blah, 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 blah. And the request was dropped. This occurs multiple times for multiple students. What does that mean?
Could mean several things. Could mean that you've not done assignments for that course. Could mean that for some reason it didn't schedule sections of that course. It could mean that it's one of those courses that's in red. Several different reasons why that could occur. You'd have to look at it. Could be that it didn't get scheduled because the teacher had too many sections assigned to her. So there's several things you have to go through and look at. So generally, if it's one course, that's the first place I would start with the course.
So another thing that I'm finding, Pam, in your data is that the courses that are showing for those under-requested students are courses that have no teacher assignments. So one student that I was looking at in particular has a request for Carpentry 1, which you have on the request as IC212XO. But in your teacher assignments, it looks like you've set up a teacher assignment for IC212XO1 or XOI. So that mismatch is part of what's causing you that. Another example is that same student has a request for, it looks like a virtual English 3, 9212BXO VPS, and you have 0 teacher assignments for that course. So it's not going to build a section and therefore can't count that. So I think if you resolve some of those conflicts, or those issues, you'll start to resolve a little bit.
A lot of it is going to be teacher assignments, I think. You've got to make sure if you have a request for a course that you want that system to schedule, you've got to have an assignment for it. So you need to compare your requests to the actual course numbers that you have, to make sure you're using the right course numbers and the right request numbers. So in Power Scheduler, you can go down to Reports. You can reprint. You can reprint. You can print a course request tally. that's going to give you your course numbers and your requests that you have for it. Reports, you can also print a course list. That's going to show you all your courses that you have in the system and whether you have a department, a facility, a math, frequency, terms. It's going to show you all the information that you have for those courses so you can compare requests and course numbers. Put them in a spreadsheet, compare them.
That's what I'm finding as I look at these students, that all of those, the ones that are saying for this student that has 0 out of 8 requests fill 0 out of 8 slots, none of his requests have a teacher assignment linked to that course number. So that's my best guess for 10 minutes worth of work. Like Sue Ann said, feel free to send us an email if you want to copy us both on it, and we'll start digging deeper the end of this week. And
then if you get those assignments in there, I mean, they may be courses that are virtual school courses that you don't want scheduled. If that's the case, you'll just have to know that that's why you're going to get that warning.
And in your errors, I see like the invalid number of sections. The course is IC212XO. It's Carpentry 1. The section count is 0. That's happening because your teacher assignment is for IC212XO1. So once you match those things up on your teacher assignment side, those errors will clear themselves. And I also think you'll drop off a ton of these request warnings, because then when those things match up, there'll be a section that'll drop off. So it looks catastrophic right now, but I think you've just got to find those courses.
I will tell you, you're better off to have a bunch of errors like that. It's kind of like balancing your checkbook. I'd rather be off a whole bunch than off 1 penny, because 1 penny is hard to find. If you're off a whole bunch, it's usually one thing that's connected to all of them, and when you clear it up one time, it clears up a whole bunch of them. I know that analogy was kind of funny. Does anybody actually balance a checkbook anymore? But
Same people that use flip phones, like you.
He's making fun of me because I have a flip phone. You know, use the analogy of a checkbook because my degree is in accounting. So there you go. And we have flip phones because we're too cheap to buy the other kind. We've done really good today. It's almost 2, so keep those questions coming. 4 or 5 more minutes. If we don't get any, then we'll go ahead and call it a day for today. There have been some really, really good questions. The pre-scheduling came fairly easy. It's this validation and the build validation that is kind of a little a new error for us, again, because this is only the 2nd year we've ever done it. So, you know, it'll take us a little while to get into the groove of things. Like a lot of people could build a master schedule in their sleep in the old system. So it'll take us some time to get into that, and Erin and I will have to sit down a lot of times and dig in to see why things are not working the way they are, because it's new to us also. So we're kind of all learning this process all together. But there's no question that you shouldn't ask. That's why we're here. You got to ask them. Got a couple minutes left. If you got those questions, come and get them in. We will do a couple of these after our workshop in June. We'll do one on June the 17th and June the 24th. Hopefully you will have committed by that time, because the very next week is EOY. We will have on June the 5th an elementary scheduling webinar, scheduling on the live side, just to show you how to copy your master schedule and do some dependent sections and some things like that, just on the live side. So if you want to get your schedule copied over before EOY, you can do that, and then drop the kids in after EOY. You can, as an elementary person, also copy it into Power Scheduler, make all your corrections there, and commit it back to the live side, and then drop your kids in. Totally up to you. All right, if we have no other questions, we're going to call it a day for today. Thank you all for being here. We will be out in the field starting next week. We'll be gone next week, back in the office for a week, and then we will be gone through the end of May. So it's going to be hard to get a hold of us, but please email us. We will eventually get back to you. Also, go ahead and log a ticket. Give us that ticket number, so if it's something that we saw, we can go ahead and close that ticket, but we want to make sure that we keep track of all of this for our accounting purposes. So thank you, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the week and a great weekend.